A proposed law in New Jersey would make it illegal for squatters to try to stay in a landlord's house. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of New Jersey, and it's actually about a proposal for a law in New Jersey that would make squatting a crime. Now, obviously, I don't usually like it when they pass new laws or new rules or new regulations because of the negative impact it has on landlords. But in this case, I like it because, simply put, it goes after these people who are unlawfully staying in somebody's property. And it's very hard to remove these people because in New Jersey they make them go through the eviction process, the civil eviction process. And obviously in a place like New Jersey, that's very slow, very cumbersome, and it could take a long time, and you're just having your property destroyed, losing a ton of money while that's happening. So they propose these new laws so that you can get these people out of there much, much quicker. And I like it. I like it. And I'm going to be going over the exact details of these laws really, really soon here. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you think that we should be able to remove squatters from a house, as a crime? Like they're breaking and entering. They are in the house. You never had a lease in most situations, right? And they should have no right to stay in there, and they should be removed by the police. That's my personal opinion. That's not the law in a lot of places, though. A lot of places consider them as though they are tenants, and that is so dumb. Okay, so hopefully they get this sort of thing worked out in New Jersey, because that would be very good for landlords and other property owners who aren't landlords, who also have to deal with squatters. So let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from NJ101.5, and it says New Jersey senators' proposed law would protect homeowners from squatters. Let's get into it. State Senator Doug Steinhardt, Republican from Warren, has introduced legislation that would give homeowners and communities new tools to address squatters who unlawfully occupy dwellings. It can be extremely difficult, time consuming, and expensive for a homeowner to get their property back when it's occupied by squatters. Our legislation would provide law enforcement with new tools to remove squatters quickly and prevent the long term damage to homes and communities they often cause, Steinhardt said. Under current New Jersey law, squatting is not a criminal act. It's a civil matter that requires the property owner to file a claim to evict, which can take months or even years to resolve, he said. Yeah, and like I said, New Jersey is one of the worst places to have to go through the eviction process because it is so slow. Because, you know what, if a professional tenant gets into your place, right, and starts squatting in there, and they know all of the rights they have, they know all of the things they can do to drag the process out, just like this guy said, right, it can be years before you get rid of this person. So just hope to God that that doesn't happen, and we can get a law in place like this that can get this person out of there immediately. Steinhardt's law would shift the burden onto the squatter to defend themselves rather than on the homeowner to prosecute the case. Squatters often damage the home and destroy or sell any personal property that the owner left inside. Steinhardt said squatters often fail to adhere to other laws, including leashing dogs and managing trash, leading to public safety. He said they don't respond to code violations for property upkeep, since penalties usually target the property owner, who is the victim. Yeah, and that's one of the worst things right there, is when the city or the county or the locality starts fining the property owner when you have a bunch of squatters in the house. They won't let the owner in, right? They won't let the landlord in to fix anything. Not that the landlord should fix anything until those squatters leave, because they're just going to tear it up again. But it's not the property owner's fault that they've got these people who are illegally occupying their property. So, like I say, when I have a vacancy in between tenants, that's the time I get the most scared of, somebody breaking into my house, possibly squatting in there or stealing the stuff from out from inside of it. That's why I don't like to have long periods of vacancy. Even when I'm doing rehabs, I like to get the rehabs done as quickly as possible, because these squatters, I mean, it's a real problem. To address these serious concerns, Steinhardt's legislation, S3613, would create three new crimes related to squatting. Housebreaking. A person would be guilty of housebreaking if they forcibly enter an uninhabited or vacant dwelling without the owner's permission with the intent of taking up residence. Unlawful occupancy. A person would be guilty of unlawful occupancy if they take up residence in an uninhabited or vacant residence without the permission of the owner. And unlawful re-entry. A person would be guilty of unlawful re-entry if had possession was ejected from the home and then broke back in to take up possession without the owner's permission. Yeah, I like it. I like all three of those, right? And they seem like common sense laws to me. Housebreaking, if you forcibly enter into a vacant dwelling, right? So, let's use the scenario of you have one of your rental properties that is sitting empty in between tenants, right? And you're, doing showings, etc. You come back to the house, and guess what? The door, has new locks on it all of a sudden because some squatter just decided to break in there and change the locks, right? Well, you should be able to call the police, and the police come down and remove that person because this person broke into your house breaking. The same with this unlawful occupancy, right? If you take up residence in an uninhabited or vacant residence without the permission of the owner. So even if didn't break into the house, right? Let's say the door was unlocked and you just walked in. Well, you cannot live there, okay? You didn't have my permission. You do not have a lease, or your lease is a fake one. Either way, we can charge you with a crime, unlawful occupancy, and have you removed. And then unlawful reentry. And I've heard that with homeless people, reentry is often common. So what they'll do is they'll have homeless people who are squatting somewhere, and they get them out of there, and then they end up coming back and then trying to stay again. Homeless people with drug addiction problems are using it as a drug flop house or whatever, right? But the point is we need laws like this in place to be able to get these people out of our properties as quickly as possible, because if we have to go through the eviction process, it's going to take months or years. I'm going to have to pay expensive lawyers thousands of dollars, and they're going to tear our place apart while they're in there. It's going to be just much easier if we get these. I mean, these people are criminals, okay? That's it. They are criminals. They are stealing, and it's not right that they even make us go through the eviction process in some states like this, okay? So, yeah, this seems to be a common sense rule to me. And let's see if the article has anything negative in here, because usually oh, well, some good tenants will get caught up in it. You know how these articles usually go. But let me continue. Steinhardt said he wants to make it clear that this law draws a distinction between squatting, which to him should be criminalized to aid the property owners, versus somebody who is going through a foreclosure proceeding, to which this law does not apply. It only applies to people who never had the right to enter a residing home in the first place, he said. A lot of the folks that squat on somebody's property don't pay any deference to the property itself, to the rights of the property owners. They cause damage, they leave garbage, and they bring in all sorts of other elements. In order to keep communities safe, in order to know who is in a particular neighborhood, this made a lot of sense to me, Steinhardt said. Each of the new offenses would be a crime of the fourth degree, punishable by up to 18 months in prison, a fine of up to $10,000, or both. And, believe me, nobody's going to get 18 months for this. I mean, I'm a law enforcement officer. I see how this usually works. There might be some people who are getting, a day or two in jail. Some might just get fined, but, told to leave and not come back. And that will work in most cases. Okay, that's probably good. I really doubt that unless the person is just, I don't know, turning it into a drug house where they're growing marijuana, they're going to get 18 months. That might be the only way they're going to get that. Community safety is first and foremost in a lot of the things that I do, and I think a lot of things that we're trying to do in the state legislature right now. It made sense to shift the burden back to the offenders instead of leaving it to the property owners to try to pursue their claims in civil court, Steinhardt said. The legislation was just introduced and needs to find its way onto the committee agenda, he added. Well, who knows if it's going to go anywhere, but I'm hopeful that property owners and landlords in the state of New Jersey will have a new tool to get rid of these squatters.